What if starter Pokemon had a 4th stage? Well, believe it or not, this almost could have been a reality in the early games. Because if you didn't know, Raichu was originally meant to evolve into a Pokemon called Gorochu, a fierce horde and faint electric beast inspired by a Japanese god. But due to space limitations, Game Freak had to cut several Pokemon and evolutions to make everything fit inside this very small cartridge of data. And who knows, if these old school cartridges had more storage, the Pikachu line might have ended up with 4 evolutionary stages, especially with the introduction of Bay Pokemon in Generation 2. So you would have Pichu evolving into Pikachu, then Raichu, and then Gorochu. So in this video, I'm going to theorize just that. I'm bringing that fantasy to life by exploring what a 4-stage Pokemon could look like for the original starter Pokemon. And I'm calling these evolutions Super Evolutions, where these special forms can only be achieved at level 50 and beyond, and require interaction with legendary Pokemon to unlock their full potential. And you'll see what I mean by that later on in this video. So let's dive in and see what these Super Evolutions could have been. Let's do this. Alright, let's start with what we know about the Bulbasaur line. If you watched my What If Pokemon Had a 4 starter video right here, I covered the theme for every starter Pokemon. And for the Generation 1 starters, their main theme is being based on household pets, with the Bulbasaur line being based on a pet frog. They also have secondary themes tied to different eras of time, with the Bulbasaur line representing the prehistoric era, since Venusaur is basically a walking dinosaur and has a Rafflesia flower on its back, an ancient flower that bloomed tens of millions of years ago, right after the dinosaurs went extinct. But something else that doesn't get talked about a lot with Venusaur is how it's based on a Venus flytrap, a carnivorous plant that feeds on insects. In fact, in its name, Venusaur is a combination of the words Venus flytrap and dinosaur. So basically, it's a walking dinosaur Venus flytrap monster thing. So what if Venusaur's super evolution leaned even more into this origin, evolving into a massive predatory plant dinosaur designed to trap and consume its prey? Enter Piranhasaur, the 4th stage of the Bulbasaur line, where his plant has finally come to life. With massive snapping jaws like a true carnivorous plant, it has a mind of its own. If a Pokemon gets too close to it, the plant will devour it without hesitation, acting purely on primal instincts. And yes, the plant is inspired by the Piranha plant from the Mario series and Lava Piranha from Paper Mario, which I think blends perfectly with Venusaur's design. They were just made to be with each other. It's like apples and oranges. Well, that's different actually. It's like peanut butter and jelly. Yeah, it's like that. And Piranhasaur itself is based on the devil frog, a massive prehistoric frog from Madagascar that lived about 70 million years ago. And it had jaws strong enough to crush small mammals, birds, and even little dinosaurs. So Piranhasaur is just a walking beast, being based on this prehistoric giant frog. Alright, let's get into the specs of Piranhasaur now. Piranhasaur remains a grass poison type Pokemon and retains the ability Overgrow. As all starter Pokemon in this video will keep their original normal abilities. But what really makes it stand out is its hidden ability, Flower Power. Yes, another Mario reference. With Flower Power, whenever Piranhasaur attacks, the massive plant on its back will randomly select a move from its natural move pool and use it with 50% accuracy. Yeah, so these sentient vine piranha plants can unleash any move that the Bulbasaur line learns by level up. It could be Growl, Poison Powder, Tackle, Solar Beam, Razor Leaf. It could be any of those moves, making this a very unpredictable and chaotic Pokemon. It's a risky yet rewarding mechanic that makes Piranhasaur an absolute wild card on the battlefield, which definitely fits its mantra. So to achieve super evolution, Venusaur must consume a Berserk gene and then be struck by Wild Zapdos' Thunder in battle. See, this is where the legendary Pokemon come in for these super evolutions. This triggers its transformation into Piranhasaur, utilizing the unused Berserk gene item from the Generation 2 games to create a true Frankenstein-like monster that comes to life in the most chaotic way possible. And funny enough, this idea ties into the theory that life on Earth began with a lightning strike, hitting a primordial soup of organic molecules and triggering a chemical reaction that formed the first amino acids, the very building blocks of life itself. Which I think is a pretty cool origin to this evolutionary method with a legendary Thunder Strike from Zapdos. For its moveset, Piranhasaur will have the moves Power Whip, Sludge Bomb, Thunder Fang, and a signature move, Pollen Hazard. With this attack, Piranhasaur's sentient vines spit out a sticky, toxic mucus that paralyzes the target and lowers the evasiveness by 2 stages. Because we thought its hidden ability was already strong enough, so for a signature move, it doesn't need to have the most broken move out there, just a little stat-changing move. And for the lore of this Pokemon, its Pokemon Red and Blue Dex entries would state this. After being struck by legendary lightning, its body surged with wild energy. The monstrous plant on its back developed a mind of its own. The moment its flower detects movement, it lashes out with powerful vines. The energy from Zapdos' lightning made it unnaturally aggressive. And there you go. That is Piranhasaur. the super evolution of Venusaur. And I absolutely love its name. It just fits so well. And I'm not gonna lie, this is probably my favorite super evolution that I made for the Kanto starter Pokemon. So I'm already spoiling y'all with the first one in this video. But I'll leave it up to y'all to decide. And hey, if this video gets 5,000 likes, I'll make another video for the Johto starter Pokemon, making super evolutions for them. So let me know down below if y'all want to see that happen. Next up, we have the Charmander line. And just like the Bulbasaur line, their designs follow the overarching theme of being based on household pets. And in this case, a pet lizard. Yes, Charmander is a little box pet lizard that you keep in your room as a kid. And as for the secondary themes, they're also based on the Middle Ages, specifically of medieval times, since dragons are deeply rooted in European mythology and folklore. And even though Charizard is not technically a dragon type, per se, it undeniably embodies the classic Western dragon we see in legends and ancient artwork. So what if his super evolution focused more on making it a true dragon, so that Charizard wouldn't need to carry his purse of Megastones to attain this legendary typing? Well, that was my first thought, until I discovered something very interesting about the Charmander line as well. It turns out that the Charmander line isn't just based on dragons from medieval folklore, but also on fire spirits, mystical beings that took on the form of salamanders, believed to have thrived in flames and withstand extreme heat. While they share similarities with dragons, they're actually classified as elemental fire spirits. And this myth likely originated from real-life salamanders hiding inside of logs. And when those logs were thrown into fire, the salamanders would suddenly scurry out, making it appear as if it was born from the flames, reinforcing its legendary connection to fire, making this fire spirits of the salamanders in this folklore. So instead of focusing on a dragon super evolution, I thought it'd be more fun, and frankly, it would make more sense to have Charizard evolve into a fire spirit. So enter Charagon, the fire ghost type Pokemon with the soul of a dragon. And I mean that quite literally, because its hidden ability is Dragon Soul, which grants it the additional dragon typing. So technically, if you have a hidden ability Charagon, it becomes a fire ghost dragon type Pokemon, the first of its kind. Which I think works out pretty well, because multiple Dexigy state that when Charmander's flames goes out, its life ends. And with Moltres' flame being legendary, using the Indigo Plateau's opening ceremony in the anime, and revert to as a sacred fire, I imagine this evolution as if Charizard perishing in battle, only to have his tail reunited by Moltres' flame, rising from the ashes and awakening Charizard's dormant draconic essence as Charagon, which is badass. And as you can see, Charagon definitely radiates that ghostly dragon vibe. I love how his tail, like right there, resembles a lizard's regrown tail, with the scarring where the fire meets the skin. It looks like it lost its tail, but then grew it back through Moltres' flames, almost like a mark of its rebirth. And its eyes having that ethereal glow, giving it that eerie, otherworldly presence. It just looks so cool. And the best part, the Dragon Soul of Charagon is literally bleeding out from his back, with that dark, wispy energy forming spectral wings, truly embodying the transformation into a phantasmal dragon. Yes, a phantasmal dragon here. And overall, I love its design, and I'm really happy that it's different from the Mega Evolutions we see with Charizard X and Y. It definitely has that super evolution feel to it. All right, moving on to his moveset, I think we have the move Shadow Claw, Earth Power, which symbolizes it rising from the grave, Dragon Tail, and the signature move Spectral Flame, a ghostly fire type attack that always inflicts burn and has a 30% chance of also inflicting curse on the target, because it is a special ghost that will come to haunt you with his fiery wisps. And lastly, for the lore of this Pokemon, is Pokemon Red and Blue Decidrees would state this: legends say Charagon rises from the ashes of defeat, embodying the undying flame of a legendary bird. Its special form burns hotter than any living fire. When Charizard's flame is reunited by Moltres, it transcends mortality. The spirit of an ancient dragon awakens, turning it into a guardian of eternal flame. And there you go. That is Charagon, the super evolution of Charizard. And I'm really satisfied at how this evolution came out. It just fits so well with the whole lore of the Charmander line of being a fire spirit and also a Western dragon. So I hope you guys enjoyed it too. And on to the final Kanto starter Pokemon of this video, the Squirtle line. And these Pokemon are based on a pet turtle, fitting right into the starter theme of household pets. So we have a pet frog, a pet lizard, and now a pet turtle. And along with that, they're also based on the modern era, representing advances in technology and warfare, especially with Blastoise's high-powered water cannons. So with that, we have Venusaur, the dinosaur Pokemon from the prehistoric era, we have Charizard, the Western dragon Pokemon from the medieval era, and finally we have the modern era, with Blastoise being a modern tank in warfare. And if you didn't know, the Squirtle line was originally meant to evolve into an entirely different Pokemon, since they are inspired by the Minogame, a legendary turtle from folklore said to have lived for 10,000 years and grew a long tail of seaweed. And Wartortle's fluffy tail was supposed to continue growing into his final evolution, with no water cannons in sight, meaning that Blastoise wasn't even part of the original evolutionary line. In fact, Blastoise had its own separate pre-evolution that most likely looked like this. And this artwork was actually created based on the back sprite of the scrapped Pokemon that was meant to evolve into Blastoise, because that is all that we have of this lost Pokemon. So what if Blastoise's super evolution continued the legend of the Minogame in its design, becoming a hybrid of the Blastoise we know today and the scrapped final evolution of the Squirtle line? Well, enter Blastuga, the water steel type Pokemon, based on the legendary Minogame and the ruthless seafaring pirates of the golden age of piracy. This super evolution builds on Blastoise's armored design, blending the mythical longevity of the Minogame with the brute force and naval dominance of pirate warships, making it unstoppable armored juggernauts of the sea. And we thought in order to upgrade Blastoise's design, we would need to, well, add more cannons. And without trying to steer into more of the Gigantamax version of Blastoise, we had to come with something more unique for the super evolution of this Pokemon. So we lean into a pirate warship inspired design. And as it turns out, during the golden age of piracy, there was a real Caribbean safe haven called Isla Tortuga, a place where pirates would hide, seek refuge, repair their ships, and launch raids. And if you didn't know, Tortuga means turtle in Spanish, making it the perfect historical tie-in for Blastoise's evolution. And honestly, the artist Mames did a fantastic job tying this theme into Blastoise's design. I absolutely love how his shell resembles an upside-down longboat, complete with the cannons you see on a pirate warship. It just fits so perfectly. Alright, moving on to how Blastoise achieved this super evolution, we thought it'd be fun to incorporate the Minogame's legendary long lifespan into the evolutionary process. So for it to evolve, Blastoise was frozen in battle by a legendary wild Articuno, and then left untouched in the party for 1 hour of in-game time, representing ancient creatures being preserved in ice for centuries. Which is why Blastuga has that slight ice-type look to it. After being frozen in ice for thousands of years, its shell became stronger from the extreme cold, ultimately turning it into a steel-type Pokemon. And cool enough, it turns out that this is something that happens in real life, because when metal is exposed to extreme cold for long periods of time, it undergoes a process called cryogenic hardening, making it even more durable. And I would say this is exactly what happened to Blastuga here. Let's say that, by the way. Blastuga, Tirtuga, Blastuga, Tirtuga, Blastuga, Tirtuga. All right, for its hidden ability, it has the Bunker Shell ability, where the opponent has a 30% chance of freezing upon contact, as Blastuga's body remains ice cold from being preserved in frozen waters for thousands of years. And not to mention that Blastuga is a walking fortress, being resistant to 10 types: Dragon, Ice, Normal, Rock, Water, Steel, Psychic, Flying, Fairy, and Bug. 10 whole types that it resists. For its moveset, I think we'd have the moves Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, Foul Play, and its signature move, Buccaneer Shot. Buccaneer Shot! A steel-type attack where Blastuga fires a cannonball with pinpoint accuracy, striking the target even through protective barriers and stat changes. No Pokemon can dodge this attack, even with Protect or even with Wonder Guard. It is an unstoppable move. And lastly, for the lore of this Pokemon, is Pokemon Red and Blue Desert Trees would state this: frozen by Articuno 10,000 years ago, this Pokemon remained encased in ice until it was rediscovered. The extreme cold fused its shell into a near indestructible armor, harder than diamond. Sailors tell legends of an ancient warship that vanished beneath the ice, only to reawaken as Blastuga. Its steel-plated shell and icy cannons make it an unstoppable force on the battlefield. And there you go, the super evolution of Blastoise. And in lore, I'd imagine this being the rare super evolution of the Kanto starter Pokemon, because apparently it takes 10,000 years for Blastoise to undergo this transformation. But maybe that was only for the first Blastuga, because afterwards, it could have passed down the genes to evolve much sooner. Kind of like how Goten and Trunks were able to go Super Saiyan at a much younger age than Goku and Vegeta, because they passed down the S cells and all that stuff. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We have Piranhasaur, Charagon, and Blastuga. 3 super evolutions for the original starter Pokemon. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to watch my other video where I make a 4th starter Pokemon for every generation. Or this video right here, where I make a 3rd legendary Pokemon for all of the legendary duos. They both have custom Pokemon, so I think you guys would enjoy it. And be sure to subscribe. Boom.